Now, where did I put it? Here it is. Welcome to the Toolbox, where we discuss the tools we utilize every day. Yours to use or toss. It's up to you. But I hope you enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome back to Tools for the Toolbox. I am Chance Burles, as you know, and I have another fantastic guest, so we're going to dive right into it with the same thing I always ask. Who are you, and what is your military background?
Well, my name is Matthew Van Erp. My military background for the last 24.9 years was to be an engineer, both in the reserves and the regular force. Or the Canadian Forces.
Another one of my brothers.
Ooh, right?
Beaver brothers. Brother Beavers, something like that.
Yeah,
so
from
now that
mother.
Yeah. So you are out, how long have you been out for now?
Since August 2019, for 2 years about that now.
Nice. And what are you doing right now?
Currently, right now, I'm going through culinary school at NAIT, the Northern Alberta Institute for Technology. Graduating in December, so a few more weeks, and then hopefully going someplace from there. So,
where do you want to go?
I want to go west, but I got
the roads are a
family.
little tough to get by.
Yeah, moving right now, maybe before Christmas might
little tricky.
be a tricky thing. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But
okay.
my journey is taking me west, man. I got family out there, and I really need to start exploring. I got to start exploring. I got to start traveling. Start, getting the food,
experiencing things, right?
Yeah, right. So
yeah.
And while
so, are you
this,
I was gonna say, are you gonna go to the mainland, or like you going in out to the island?
Both.
Where do you want to go? Interior?
Both.
Home is where?
My original home? That's Ontario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you're saying you want to go home, but where is that?
No, I want to go to family. Family's in BC.
Family.
My kids are out there. Home,
okay, but
for me, originally, when I was growing up, was on Northern Ontario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out in the bush.
Out in the bush, right?
Yeah, good time. So you've been doing culinary school for 2.5 years.
Yeah, I did meat
Just
cutting
about.
to start with, but then I got into culinary right afterwards and just kept on rolling with it.
Okay. And how was your transition out?
Good. I don't like, so here's the thing, Cam. I don't like the word transition.
Okay.
Right? Because the reason why is because transition basically, it sums up is that you're changing from one thing to another. Right? Like completely disregarding what was, and now you're doing something completely new. But I like using the term evolution, right? Because it was more like you're building. I'm still building on what I used to know, what I used to do. And so I'd rather, how was my evolution? It's been good. It's been good. The skills and stuff that I've learned in the armed forces going into this new industry has literally been a cut and paste. Let's execute. Like, it's brilliant.
Nice.
As for like all the other parts of the transition, the support, the releasing, all that stuff, I would say it's typical. I mean, I have no heartaches about it or anything.
Okay.
I worked the system though. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I've said this a few times. I think a lot of transitions or evolutions or whatever you want to call it, it's dependent a little bit on your rank, because Master Corporal, you kind of get into the admin side of the military, and you get used to doing paperwork and sending requests and waiting for emails and so on and so forth. But Sergeant and above, really, it's mostly admin. The actual physical work of being a section commander and above is slowly starting to fade away, right? Like, you're not on the ground with the guys all the time. And then warrant, you're even less, and then sergeant major, even less, and you have more admin to do, which assists in the transition. Because anything you do through the VA, you have to send paperwork in, get requests, send it this way, talk to that person, get this person to sign that, blah, 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 blah. And as a private or corporal, you never really got that experience. And so I find sergeants and above usually have an easier transition or a much smoother exit.
Yeah.
Just because they're used to that.
I can totally see that too, 100%. Because there is, what book was that called? Small Unit Leadership. They actually have a graph where with your rank increases, your leadership goes down, but your management increases. So around the non-commissioned level side, like the sergeants and above, you're less leader and more management. And you're right. Like when it comes to transition, like this paperwork and seeking additional assistance and resources, it is open to you 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I got lucky in that I had a VA rep that just basically signed me up for everything. But again, in the average private and corporal, you don't really know how to advocate for yourself as much.
That's true.
Whereas, sergeants and above, they're just like, fuck it. I'm gonna go ask for whatever I can get and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's this is a shotgun way of doing things. I'm going to spray everything and hopefully I hit a target. It's
exactly. It's
kind of the same thing. I'm going to apply for everything and hopefully something comes in.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I think that's the best part when you talk about bureaucracy, right? Just throw papers at it and see what's
Yeah. Nobody likes paperwork. Like as much as I hate paperwork, and I do, people who receive my paperwork hate me even more. So if I can drown them to the point where I'm getting what I want because of all the paperwork I'm doing,
just sign off. Oh God, here it is again. We're getting out of here.
Just give him what he wants so we can get rid of him. Just make it happen.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
So on that note, if there was one piece of transitionary or evolutionary skill that you would pass on to, say, yourself 2.5 years ago, what would you tell yourself that would make it a little bit easier, or just that
a little bit
smoother? I know.
Well, I kind of hit on one, work the system, right?
Yeah.
There are people out there who for every person that's getting out, there is likely about 100 other people who've gone through the same thing in the same period of time, right?
Yep.
These people potentially could be resources. Hell, your podcast is a resource for people to get out, right?
Yep. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah.
These podcasts should be literally you walk in transition center and it's watch these podcasts and then come back tomorrow, right? Work the system, find someone who can assist you to work the system, ask as many stupid questions as you can. It doesn't matter. What about my Advil? Where do I get my Advil? There's an answer for that, right?
For sure.
But also, for me, the one thing I'm kind of grasping with, and I'm just, after 2 years of getting out, I'm just now kind of focusing on that, is remembering where I came from, right? I used to serve. I'm a veteran. I used to be in the armed forces with a bunch of wonderful dudes and girls, and we did some really crazy and awesome stuff. And you can't not just throw that underneath the rug and carry on, right?
Yeah.
These are people that have your back, or your future in mind too as well. So always remember where you came from. Always work the system. Seek resources, and it's your responsibility. It's my responsibility, but you're the one who's in charge of your career at this point. There's no career manager. There's no babysitting. You want it, you go get it. You grab it. Yeah.
That's a great point. The ability to basically seek and destroy, right? If you want something, it is only up to you.
Yeah.
You can ask for help, and there are resources and there are people that will assist you, but no one is going to make you get up in the morning. No one's going to make you do your homework.
Yeah.
No one's going to make you go to the tests. No one's going to make you study. It's all on you.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And, I mean, that's awesome because no one else can fuck it up either, right?
And that's the thing, yeah. If something goes sideways, who's to blame? Well, I could have done that better, or I could have done that more on time. It's all I statements at that point. I had a choice. I made a decision. I took that action plan, right? So
yeah, I like the terminology of evolution too, because it really is. It's a stepping stone. Now I use transition because in jiu-jitsu, when you transition to a new position or you transition to something else, you're basically taking the best parts of what you have and then utilizing those to take a better spot. And then you transition into something better, and then you transition to something better. So you're constantly growing, and you are technically evolving, but I just use the transition term because I like it. It's in my head. But I also like it in terms of shooting.
Yeah.
Right? If that's what you use, you're going, I'm going to transition weapons. bang, you can transition weapons. Easy peasy. But yeah, I don't know. Terminology, it's tough because words actually matter. And I found that, especially working with other veterans, it depends on what they do on how we speak to each other. So when I talk to airborne guys, I use a lot of airborne terminology, right? And I say, if you're getting stuck somewhere, then you just, wait for your green light. As soon as you see that green light, fucking out the door, instead of thinking about it and overthinking it, going, oh shit, is this the spot or is it blah blah blah? No, green light, go. Whereas if I talk to engineers and I start talking about, sometimes you need to check yourself. That's a very specific terminology for us, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Shit, I need to stop, slow down. Okay, what am I doing? Rethink, and so on and so forth. So the terminology is important, but at the same time, it isn't. Because
that's fair. Right. It's all personal too. Like you kind of hit it on. You're using it because of your background with martial arts and gunplay, right? Transitioning a weapon, you're going from a long barrel, long range to a short pistol, short range, right? You're changing your combat scenario based on the weapon you're using, right? Yeah. I don't know. For me, that's just like I don't want to change. Like I am very, very happy to have served, and I'm very, very happy to bring everything I am bringing. Those skills, those soft skills, those lessons learned, those are, to use a military term, force multipliers in any career. 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've said it so many times to I don't know how many people now. Is that a lot of times guys get out and they figure, how do I take? I'm good at I can shoot a machine gun really well, and make that into a useful skill in the real life. And I'm like, but you break those down into the smaller skills. What is a machine gunner? What is an engineer? What is conventional munitions disposal? What is blah, blah, blah? What is being a sniper, et cetera, right? And a lot of it comes down, you have really good attention to detail, or you're very team oriented, or you're like, there's, as you said, the soft skills that build those skills. Because anybody can shoot a machine gun, right? Anybody can. As long as you have a finger and a thumb, right? If you have an opposable thumb, you can shoot a machine gun.
Yes.
Yeah. To utilize it well, you need all those other skills.
100%.
Right? You have to be able to do all these things, and to be able to bring those soft skills forward it's really important, and be able to recognize them, and as you said, bring them forward, right? Like that's something that you got taught, and now you have. It's now yours to use.
Yep.
For whatever you could possibly dream of.
And nobody can take that away from you. Like
no.
Like someone can empty your bank account tomorrow. What are you going to do? Well, I have all these skills, all these abilities that I can use to get that bank account back.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Not like forcibly, but I mean like regrow it. I'm trying to say.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, even forcefully. If how well, you don't want to, but like, how many movies are out there where it's like an ex-military guy staging a heist?
Yeah.
Right? It's because all those skills are applicable to heisting.
Right. What was that movie? I have a certain set of skills. I don't want to use. Yeah. Liam something?
Liam Neeson, that's Taken.
Yeah. Taken, yeah.
That was what but again, it's all in what you can think of, right? How do you want to take those skills and use them? It's all it's limited to your own creativity.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, I think, it's one of the things that I want to talk to you about specifically, but that is like, you chose creativity through food.
Yes.
Right. Where did that come from? Where did that go ding in your head? And you're like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do.
It was really about, so long story short, prior to my actual release, I was planning to release. So I was developing new skills, new things to do once I was out, right? And that's when I got my health and life coaching certificate, which included a whole big portion on nutrition. Well, I've seen a lot of nutritionists, and I've been to nutritionists too, where they're like, don't eat this is bad. Eat this is good. But why? And how do we make it taste better? And what can we do with this? Like, and how can we use this every day and not turn into such a labor, right? And so when the opportunity to go into culinary, who actually started working with food in service, right? It just kind of was like a natural fit for me. And it kind of built on everything else I was planning to do. And now it's at the forefront of everything now, where all I want to do is cook food for people, both for like enjoyment, but also like nutritional wise, as well as assisting with food rescue too as well. And yeah, it's just been like I guess maybe it's like part of being when you're in the forces, you always want to help people. When those domestic ops that go and you help people, and how you feel, helping someone else, right? It's the same thing with food. When I serve someone a food and they, I explain everything to them, and then they enjoy it and they give me feedback back. It creates that relationship, right? You're trusting me to make you a good food, and I am valuing your input on what I've made for you. So yeah,
that's a great way to look at it. I had an opposite reaction with food, actually. A lot of my PTSD symptoms and other issues, I forget about food regularly.
Yeah.
And I won't eat for a long time because I don't think about it. I don't really get hungry, and I just kind of like it doesn't really occur to me. And there's been a few times where my wife has been like, "Have you eaten today?" And I'm like starting to think about it, going, "Did I eat yesterday? Did we? What just happened there?" But I used to love to cook, and I used to take a lot of enjoyment just from that, being able to put a plate in front of somebody and watching them. And just gaining all of that, each stage of it, right? The aroma from the initial, the plating of it, the everything along the way, and how they take their first bites and it's a great feeling. And it's my favorite was always my speciality was fettuccine Alfredo with jerk chicken.
Ooh, that would be really nice.
It is really good.
Nice.
And it's got just enough of a kick to it. Like the jerk is usually strong enough to actually like punch through the Alfredo.
Yeah.
But the Alfredo cools it down, so it's not
all those fats and stuff counteracts all those spices and acids. Yeah, I could see that.
It's really good.
You're making me hungry at this point, buddy. I totally understand what you're saying about not eating too, because I am notorious for doing that too as well. I'm a big fan of fasting, like intermittent fasting and stuff like that. So I will actually plan my fasting schedule around me working in the kitchen, because you have to sample stuff and make sure your seasoning's good, your spices and everything's balanced, right? So I'll actually have my 8-hour window while I'm actually in the kitchen, and that's when I consume my food. But coming home and like cooking for myself and stuff doesn't happen. No. Yeah. It's literally whatever I have, throw it in a pot and go. But when it comes to cooking for other people, that's a different beast altogether.
Mm-hmm. I guess it makes sense, right? This is the benefit of enjoying your work, right? Like you get something out of just doing the job.
Yeah, I want to share.
Right? Yeah. I felt the same way when we were, like, when you're actually doing your job overseas. I enjoyed clearing the road because that was the job, right? And I'm helping all the people behind me, and now we get to move on forward and we get to do our mission and all these other things. But just the act of being able to do the job and enjoy it, or enjoying the job for the sake of doing it, so that you help all those other people behind you, right? It just it brings forward, and I think that's why we continue with service, right? You see a lot of military people get out and look for some way to continue serving the public service or municipal, police, government, firefighting, whatever, right? We just look to fall back into that, right? It's an interesting point. I hadn't actually thought about that but just the idea of enjoying the
service
concept
for the sake of service.
Yeah.
And that was my original reason why I got in the forces too. Is like I wanted to help people. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be that, not that shiny knight, but I mean that person that people needed to come and assist. It sounds bad. Like, now I'm actually like putting it into words, but. It's,
I said the exact same thing to my wife a little while ago. My aunt called me and she had a whole bunch of wood that needed to be cut up.
Yeah.
And I have a chainsaw. So instead of using an axe and cutting all the wood up, she was like, "Could you come and slice all these logs for me?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, absolutely." But I enjoyed the thought of being that guy, that the first call where someone goes, "Man, I have a problem. Who can help me with this? Chance can help me with this," right?
Yeah.
I enjoy being that first thought, like, haha, this guy will help. And I can be that guy to help and not go, "Sorry, I got nothing for you."
Yeah, and that's I just kind of think about that too while you're telling your story, is that we're in a position, like especially veterans and ex-service people, even service people in general, like we are more than capable to help people. And that's the thing, you're the person with the chainsaw, you're the person who knows how to use that, right? Boom, you're there to help, right? I think that's I don't know, it's just something to investigate later, I guess.
Well, I mean, I have a bunch of stuff in my truck. And I mean, you know me, when I was I would always carry a little bit extra stuff, right? Because I like being that guy. If somebody says, "Hey, I need ammo," and I'm like, boom, I have extra. Take it. Or someone says, "Oh, my socks got wet." "Oh, well, I have an extra set. Here you go," right? Just that little bit of extra help to hand out to somebody else makes my life easier, because then I also don't have to listen to someone bitch about the fact that their socks are wet for the next 16 kilometers while we're walking.
Yeah.
But in my truck, I have tow ropes, because I know at some point someone's going to need a tow. And I live at the bottom of a hill, and regularly in the winter, actually this winter especially, there's people stuck on the hill. So I stop. I got a 4x4. I got winter tires. I lock them up, and I drive them up to the top of the hill, unlock them, and off I go. But I was able to, I had the ability, I had the extra little bit, extra little tool, or that extra little thing that I can help out with somebody else.
And it doesn't take much either.
No, it doesn't. No. And a little bit of space in my truck, right? Whatever. And what was it? My neighbor borrowed my painter's pole, like my extendable painter's pole. Cool. I'm not painting anything with it right now. Enjoy. But yeah, I think it bleeds into everything, right? If you are that type of person where you just want to help other people move along or get better or do whatever. I mean, you see this a lot in the life coach arena, right?
Yeah.
That's why people usually get into it, or they get into fitness or nutrition or all of the accoutrements.
Self-help,
it's all about, I want to help you guys out there. And I always said that there was a line on one of the instructors told me on my BMO course. You climb up to the top of the ridge, and then once you clear the lip on that last step, you turn around and put your hand back for the next guy. And if they take it, cool, help them up. If they don't, cool, turn around, keep walking, right? But just the idea of turning around and putting the hand back, it makes everyone's life easier. It takes 1 second for you, and if they're struggling, bam, your hand's there. If not, not needed. Move the fuck on.
Yeah. It's something so simple as that too, like just like giving a hand, just that little extra effort, right? That also helps you hugely too, right? Because in your story, once you're on top of the hill, you got two people up there. What about the next dude? That next dude gets two hands, and he can get up with all of his equipment, and it just becomes easier and easier and easier. The more people that are on the same ledge.
Yeah. I mean, you think about. I hate thinking about this, but winter warfare. Were you on that exercise where we went out to Trail BC?
No.
No? Okay.
I heard
so we went out to Trail. Yeah, it was an interesting time. There was a point where we had to snowshoe up a mountain. And like it was about a 2-kilometer straight shot up the side of the mountain, but it was like an 8-kilometer set of switchbacks all the way up to the top, right?
Snowshoes.
And we're in snowshoes, in the old crappy army snowshoes, right? And rucks and weapons and all the gear and the sled, and like it was horrible.
Yeah,
kind of hilarious, but horrible. And we were humping our asses up there with guys in traces, guys on the back of the sled. We're pulling, we're pushing, and it was like every 15 minutes we were switching out, just constantly. It was like every probably 2 or 3 minutes, one person was changing. So by the time 15 minutes goes by, you'd have like a new set of dudes on. But it was so physically draining.
Yeah.
And you couldn't dress down because you're in the mountains and the wind is blowing and hey, crummy time. But if you don't take the time to go, that guy looks fucking tired, I should probably switch him out, then you have to wait for him to go, I'm fucking exhausted. And then everyone has to stop because he's too exhausted to get himself out.
Yeah.
So by not doing that little bit extra to help that other person, you're fucking everybody over.
Yeah, 100%.
To a degree. Yeah. I mean, they're kind of fucking themselves, but it's the same concept, right? If you do a little bit to help other people, then everybody does a little bit to help everybody, and then everybody gets help, and then everybody goes farther, and everyone gets to the top of the mountain, and nobody gets hurt. Until I got to the top, I got run over by a sled and hyperextended my knee. That's a different story.
That's a different story. That's your point was made, and then it went sideways.
Yeah, we went sideways on it, but yeah, it's funny because the military teaches us this, right? Constantly in everything we do, teamwork. And we get out and we spread out to the myriad of the country, and we stop helping each other.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to manage, and this is where we need to start learning how to benefit from other people's efforts as well.
Yeah, because we're so used also to like keeping things inside too. Like, oh, I want to push myself, go because I'm helping these people rest. Well, I'm getting exhausted, but there becomes a point where you become more of a detriment being exhausted than just saying, "Hey, can we switch up earlier?"
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I mean, also you've been around, you were in long before I was, and I remember when I first got in, it was still very much everyone had to keep their plans close to their chest, right? You don't want to talk about what you plan to do because then somebody else is going to take your idea and they're going to I don't know, go far with it.
Yeah.
And it never quite worked in my head why people would do that. And I think now that the roles have changed slowly, the culture within the military has changed slowly. By the time last few years, you start seeing it where people are like willingly trying to help each other.
Yeah.
Back in the day never happened.
No.
So it's
it was a different beast too. I mean, like we didn't really have like there wasn't much going on when like majority of my career. Like, there was Bosnia, there was Kosovo, there was Afghanistan. That was like I would say the later half of my career. But like you're right, like at the beginning there when we were pretty much stagnant waiting for something. Like you got a bunch of warriors sitting around going, hey, whose turn is it to sweep the floor? Right? Versus, hey, let's go practice section attacks on the concrete. Right?
Yeah.
Which one's more beneficial in the long run, right? So I mean, clean floor to your section attacks, of course. But yeah, like once we actually had a more of a solidified purpose, I totally agree with you how everything kind of started shifting for the benefit of the team as a whole versus I'm just here to build my empire.
Do you find that now that you've been out and you've been in school for a while, do you find that is more prevalent or less prevalent? We talk about civilians and
people are not used to having somebody who is capable and willing to help. I'll tell you that much. Real short story. Went to Kelowna this summer for an internship, right, in the kitchen. And one of the other interns forgot their knives. They didn't bring it. They were flying. They didn't know they could just check them in as tools and then go from there. So for the first week, we were sharing my knife kit. And it got to the point where, like, I needed my knife. My knife was in someone else's hands. Well, I can't just say, hey, stop what you're doing. I need my knife. So I actually ended up going, like, out of my way, going to, like, Walmart, I think it was, buying, like, a $30 knife set. Here you go, right? Quick knife roll for something for, like, $1 round. I forget what it was. It was just, like, it was, like, 2 cents. And it's like, yeah, here, use these knives. These are yours for until you give them back or, buy them for me. I don't give a shit. But later on became such a thing like, oh, you bought me knives and, I'm thinking your intentions are wrong. It's like, no, I bought you knives because you were interfering with my performance. You were slowing me down. So I mean, it's like I brought you up to my level so that we could do this together. And that was a concept that wasn't quite grasped until like just recently, I hope. That I did it not as a smite or as, to flex, but more of the team needs to grow together. You can't just leave one person behind. So, Well,
if you have...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I see it. It's a difference. Like, we're bringing a lot out. We're bringing a lot from our table onto someone else's table, and they don't know how. Some people don't know how to take it.
And have you figured out a plan on how to manage that, or is it just still?
I'm just trying to keep on doing me. Honestly, if someone needs help, I'm going to help them, 100%. And if they take offense to it, it's like, here's my reason why I helped you. Here is the goal and outcome I'm looking for, and we want to do this together, or we can do this separately. You tell me right now, and then that's that. I'll just move on, keep on doing my job, and help someone else.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because if two people are slower on the team, then the whole team is slower. If everyone is up to a par, then everyone is faster. Like the team moves better. I mean, we used to do this in logger sports, right? You have that obstacle course we used to do where you have to push the friggin' cinder block and the logs have to come out. And
that atrocity.
Yeah. Oh man, I love logger sports. So
I love
don't even
logger
talk
sport
about
too.
it.
Don't get me wrong. That one was a challenge.
That was tough, man. It was. But
who came up with
that? I remember I was running the last year I ran it. I ran the team. I had it set up so I had all of the tall guys pushing, and I had all the short guys moving the logs out. And they were like, "Well, why? I'm a big guy. I can push hard." I'm like, "That's great, but your legs are tiny, so you're going to affect everybody else pulling the logs because your legs are going to be shorter than wherever you are, right?"
Yeah.
And we did quite well on it. It just, but it's that same idea, right? If I help you go a little bit faster, and I'm going a little bit faster, then we are all going faster.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Whereas, I mean, I think, the concept of the team is very hard to explain to someone who's never lived in a team. Right?
An extreme team too. Like there's people who's like, oh, I've been part of a high school football team. Well, that's good between X hours and X hours, but veterans, we've lived being. There's been times on tour for 6 months at a time. I've been the brother, father, uncle, buddy. I've been all the hats in one day, and it's just because it's all about the team.
Yeah, and we move forward together, right? I've said it a few times. As a buddy asked me once what was the difference between a civilian friend and an army friend, and I was like, an army friend I could call at 3 a.m. And say, show up here with a shovel, and they just would, right? They'd just be like, all right, what kind of shovel? It wouldn't even faze them. But also, when we're talking about the reason why a lot of guys miss being overseas was the fact that you could hate someone and they would take a bullet for you.
Oh, 100%.
Regardless, right? It didn't matter. You were in the uniform, and doesn't matter what they feel, how they feel about you. It's for the team. And that's that concept. I think a lot of people, like I said, that don't live in that team. As you said, if you are in a high school football team, you have practice and, you hang out after hours a little bit, but you don't live there. You're not every day, all day long beside these guys 100%. To the point that you want to throttle them sometimes, but other times you gotta, sometimes they need a hug.
Sometimes you take that throttle for them.
Sometimes you take that throttle, exactly. Whatever you got to do, right? It's an interesting way of life for sure. Now to completely switch gears, let's jump back into food here.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'll use a segue after I destroyed my Segway. The thing about
smooth,
trauma.
Chad, smooth.
Yeah. I'm just throwing it all to the wind. One of the first things I learned about trauma was the fact that your olfactory and taste centers are closer, have a closer link to memory than your other senses. Mm-hmm. So you're able to my brain just shut down. You'll be able to take memories or recall memories more if there is a scent or taste marker involved in those things. In good ways and bad things, right? The smell of a baby reminds you of when you had your baby and they were small, and that's a great feeling. The smell of diesel and blood mixed together are not a great smell and reminds me of bad things that have happened. Mm-hmm. And those smells can bring you right back. So when you're cooking, when you're creating those meals, when you're creating those things, how much does that play into it? How much is the overall aroma of it create that memory?
Dude, I mean, that's pretty... You got like 6 hours? We can talk about this.
Mm-hmm. Give her, man.
If you think about it, the olfactory and smelling is your first physical sensory intake. Because you can hear stuff and you can see stuff, right? Those are energy, right? Mm-hmm. Those are vibrations of sound and light. But smelling something, you're actually picking up physical particles of the thing you're smelling. And you're processing it through your body, like through your lungs and through your, hitting your, the Jacob membrane inside your nose, right? That's when there's that first physical interaction with what you're experiencing. When it comes to food, that's the second thing I'm aiming for, is that initial smell, right? So I did, just recently, Nate's doing a Twitch stream for the Ernest Restaurant, and it's basically a competition between the students. Like, here we go, we're going to make something, we present it, we get judged on it, and then commented, right? But my last thing I did was a beef tartare, but I put it on a bowl with a glass of dome. Actually, very similar, like one of these things. I use that for burger. Okay. But anyway.
Yeah.
I put that over the tartare, and then I smoked hickory on the inside. So technically, it's not a smoked product because it hasn't gone through the smoking curing process. Mm-hmm. But the moment they pulled off that lid, all they're getting is this big whiff of hickory, and then they're getting that barbecue feeling, and then that fireplace, right? And that like totally set the mood for what I wanted these tartare to represent, like, as part of the meal. Right? It was supposed to be very rustic and very like old world, I'm going to say, kind of feel, right? And so in the culinary side, that's one of the most important things. And when it comes to taste too, your like your taste buds and your tongue and stuff, they only pick up the scent, the salt, the sweet, the sour, the acidic, and the umami, right? They don't pick up the finer details of things. So when you have like chocolate, you're just tasting the bitterness or the sweetness of the chocolate, but it's your nose that's telling you it's chocolate. Mm. So it has a huge impact in developing flavors and profiles and memories and everything. Yeah.
Do you have, like, when you specifically lay out, you were saying that you're going for like this rustic kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Is that part of your planning process ahead of time? Is it like, how does that follow that path?
Totally. It's like every meal I do, there's a plan behind it. Like, there's a lot of thought and planning, and the one thing I do too, which I learned from the military, was mental rehearsals. Right. So when I go for these competitions, or I show for a day's work, and it's like, okay, I got X to do, I've already mentally rehearsed it so many times that it's already done. I just got to put it together and present. But yeah, I actually use the military orders format for my kitchen plan. Schmask, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just changed.
I was going to ask you if you use orders for it, because
I do. It's 100%. It's everything's in there. Like, the only thing I've changed was mission for menu, and that's it.
That makes sense. Same thing, though. Really.
Same thing.
What's the plan?
Well, this is what we're making. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right. But groupings and tasks, it's exactly the same. Like, you're going to be working on this, and then timings, that's a big part in the kitchen too, right? So if you have an HR and you got to execute for them.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, like, you can time those steps, right? Like, I always had an issue when I'd write my orders for, like, recce's or stuff like that, and you're looking at, oh, well, if I'm going to move from point A to point B, that's probably going to take me 20 minutes, unless you read unless you read the map wrong, or you hit a swamp that you didn't know was there, or whatever. Like, there's things that get in the way, but, when you're cooking steak and I got 4 minutes on this side, and I got 4 minutes on that side, and you can, like, reverse engineer that to a point where you go, I need to start it at X point to have it cooked, to have it, or blah 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 blah.
But then you're thinking about that in regards to the rest of your team, right? Because you're cooking this 8-minute steak. It's got to rest for 2 minutes. So there's 10 minutes right there. On your mat or your vegetation station, they got to whip out all the potatoes, the vegetables, and all that stuff, and they want that plate ready at that 10-minute mark. So they got to adjust their time. Sauce station, they're in the same boat. It's like, okay, what sauce we got to do? Make sure we have enough, warmed up the temperature, make sure we're ready to present. Plates are all warm. Like, it's snowballs. And so, like when you're in the kitchen and an order comes in, it's not just, okay, fresh out this food and push it out. It's like, literally, okay, range. How much time do you need? Can I start mine? Are you done yours? Okay, start mine. Cool. That'll be like 4 minutes. Saucier, plating station, that's going to be 5. So it's. Timing is huge in both industries.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you really wanted to look at it a certain way, you could look at it as a basically a battle plan, right? That's what a set of orders is a plan to tell you how this battle is going to come out. And the benefit is when everyone knows the commander's intent, we can all work towards the intent. If all of your prep staff and all your service staff and all your cooks and stuff they know the plan, they know the intent, they need this to happen, blah, blah, blah. It just makes everything easier. And I mean, it gets the same thing. I was talking with a buddy of mine a little while ago about I don't remember how we got on the subject, but he was talking about the one thing we don't do enough in the military is rehearsals. Yeah, so when you set up your recce and you're doing your orders, and your 2 ICs should be running rehearsals and should be making sure everyone has food and water and all these other things, usually rehearsals are at the very end, right? They're like, oh, I know my stuff. They know what they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. But maybe they don't. And being able to rehearse those things ahead of time, that's part and parcel of it. And if you can maintain a standard, those rehearsals don't need to take as long, but they still need to happen. Does that, in the kitchen, is this very similar, or is it more like these people have the skill sets, just tell them what to do and they should be able to do it?
From what I've seen, it's the latter. It's like, you're in the kitchen, okay, you should know how to do this, go. But for the people who do the rehearsals, who do plan out in depth and detail, it is like night and day different as smoothness, right? A person can come in with no plan or no nothing. It's like, this is what I'm doing. Here's my recipe on my phone. I'm just going to like check every 5 minutes on Google. Or a dude who has like everything written out, like on don't laugh, but like field message pads, right?
Yeah, those are great books, man. I'm not laughing. Those are awesome to have.
They are. If he has everything laid out, like I plan when I'm going for beers after class or after work. Like, finish, cleaned up, execute, have beer, go from there, right? So I mean, rehearsals don't have to be anything big either. Like, I already mentioned, like, how I'm mentally rehearsing, like, the day's work. And I do that in bed when I wake up. Like, I do my meditation, my affirmation, my rehearsals in bed before I get up and go brush my teeth. So, to bring rehearsals down to, like, a personal, very small level, I think would benefit everyone.
It makes sense. That's basically it's discipline, right? Like, if you have the discipline to maintain a set standard of doing things and you rehearse the very specific things. I mean, I talk about self-talk a lot throughout all my podcasts, and we can beat the living shit out of ourselves regularly, or we can talk ourselves up. Both things are bad at an extreme, right? If you're constantly talking about how awesome you are, well, then you're arrogant. No one wants to be around you. If you're constantly talking about how horrible you are, then no one wants to be around you. But you have to be able to. There's a balance where you say, you know, oh, my back's really hurting today. Maybe a rucksack march is not the best plan, but I still need to exercise. So what am I going to do? And then you plan it out and you start working your rehearsals into what you're capable of doing right now, rather than, you know, what you want to be able to do. Because I imagine it's similar in a kitchen, right? If you wanted to pound out the most extravagant, lavish meal in the world in a small, you know, 200 square foot kitchen, like, probably not going to work, right?
No.
But if you have a full-size kitchen, or full-size industrial kitchen, and you have a staff of 10, and you can plan out for whatever the hell you want.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I see a lot of the kids do. I call them kids because they're younger than I am. They come in with like, oh, I want to do this magical thing. You know, it's like, okay, where are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? What's the plan for this? What's the execution? Where are you going to cook that? What's that? How's it going to interfere with everything else we're doing? And it's just like, I just want to make this. It's like, you may want to reassess that. So,
we see that in jiu-jitsu all the time. People come in and be like, I saw this wicked move on Instagram. I do it too. I do it all the time. I'll be like, ooh, that's sweet. No, my instructor will be like, can you teach us this? And he's like, there's like 17 steps just to get there.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's also understanding your capabilities, right?
But it's also adapting to, like I'm thinking more food here versus jiu-jitsu, but like I'm the same way, man. On Instagram, I find something pretty, like food-wise, like, ooh, I'm going to replicate this. But then I actually, instead of just saying I'm just going to do this, right? I actually break it down. I dissect it. I think about the individual components. I, research those individual components. So when I can, or when I have the opportunity to put it together, I've already done all the background stuff. Yeah, your 17 steps, like you said, right?
Good old battle procedure.
Yeah, man. There's actually Instagram. I'm gonna plug it, but Fine Cooking Thoughts. It's basically it's not a cooking channel, but it's like tips and trips for the industry, right? And they said, hey, I joined, I subscribed to their page and said, hey, throw us a intro, right? So I threw them an intro. And the one thing I said is like, hey, if everyone in the industry learned how to do schmesk, like every day would be smooth as glass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. A good set of orders is so nice. I was talking, when I did my business plan for my, the program in Nate that I did, it was a set of orders. And I'm pretty sure I drafted it in like an hour.
Yeah.
It was just one of those, like, okay, situation. I need to build a business. It needs to do this, 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 and this. Cool. And you just move along. And being able to, or not being able to, but being able to utilize those skill sets, being able to take something that is very militaristic, you do X, A, B, C, D, blah, 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 and put it into the world, being able to utilize, and as you said earlier, evolve. But you have to evolve what you're looking at, right? It's not situation friendly, situation enemy. It's situation dinner, right?
Yeah, exactly. Commander's intent, chef's intent. We have 200 troops to destroy. We have 200 plates to feed. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah, just having the mental agility, I guess, to be able to utilize those things. And I try to do this on my podcast as much as possible. Is take the skills or the whatever we're talking about and apply it to a military context, because we all know what a section attack is. So, well, hopefully we all know what a section attack is. Most of us know what a section attack is.
Yeah.
But again, we can utilize that to pass on that little bit of knowledge, that little bit of that little tidbit that somebody else can grab a hold of. I'm like, oh, I haven't tried that yet. I'm going to go do that. So what is this is just my own personal question, but what is your favorite meal to cook?
Oh, Jesus.
Like if you could just make one. Dun, dun, dun.
Like individual plate or like an entire technique?
Well, let's say a meal. So, like,
One meal?
I have... I will give you mine, because I've made it many, many times. And it's a 3-stage meal. I usually start... My starters are very simple, and I forgot what they were, but I'm going to move on. The fettuccine Alfredo with chicken is my standard.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, it was a spinach salad is usually my starter. A very light spinach salad with a raspberry vinaigrette, which is one of my favorites. And then the fettuccine Alfredo with jerk chicken, and then I have a really, really rich dessert that I make, which is a black bottom banana cream pie.
Ooh.
It is delicious, super rich, like so good.
Nice.
But something like that. What would be your ideal if you could just? This is what I want to have for dinner right now, and
what I want for dinner, like it's chicken. You know what? I like chicken. I know it's so bad as a chef, but like it's like. There's so many things that I really enjoy and like, but like if you got one ingredient or one meal, I want chicken. That's pretty much it. I do a nice double seared oven roasted chicken. It's just chicken, man. I don't know. Man, so
what would you do to the chicken though? Or are you just gonna take it one chicken breast, sear it, and then throw it in the oven? Like what is the...
Pretty much, yeah. Like you take like a quarter chicken, so like the drumstick and the thigh, skin on, of course, because that's where a lot of the good nutrients are from. You throw it in your pan with some olive oil, rosemary, garlic, splash of butter, just because flavor, and you sear until the skin gets crispy. Flip it over until it gets some color and brown. Throw the entire cast iron pan in the oven. Wait until the internal temperature is around 165, and then that's your roasted chicken. Takes like maybe 10 minutes.
What would you pair that with?
Let's see. I would pair that with nice peas and carrots, honey glazed with volcanic salt. Add a little bit of alkaline to that, and then just those little mini potatoes, those colorful mini potatoes. Some of those smashed. So like quick boiled. Smash them, throw them in a frying pan with some salt and pepper, maybe some cayenne or paprika for flavor and some color. Give a nice little brown sear at that. Serve it right beside everything else. Yeah.
Nice.
And then top delicious. It with a buttery, like a very buttery sauce, like a bechamel. Not a bechamel. No, don't think of bechamel. Béarnaise. So it's kind of like hollandaise with more onion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'm getting hungry now too. And then what would you have for dessert?
I've been practicing my Alaskan bakes, which is basically like an ice cream cake, but with meringue on the outside, like the egg white meringue, right? And then torched until it's all nice and crispy. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. That I'm starting to get hungry.
That's a good thing.
I didn't eat breakfast, so that could be it too. Okay, well, the one thing I love about food is that there's a community aspect to it.
Yeah.
Right? Like being able to sit at a table and have a big meal and have that group feeling to it. It's just, and again, the smells and the aromas and the sights and being able at this restaurant I used to work at, I would see this happen. They'd get a big round table of like 8-9 people, and the food would start coming out, and there would always be these, ooh, oh, I should have got that. Oh, that looks so good. Oh, it smells. And you just like all of a sudden everyone starts being immediately engaged with each other and the food.
Yeah.
And it's just a great thing to see. That was probably my favorite sight out of working in a restaurant. What is your favorite sight or favorite thing about working in this realm?
So I'm gonna say this from like the kitchen side of the line, right? Not actual as the customers, right? But and this like it comes back to like in the military too. But when things are in the flow on a line where you've got multiple stations, they're dancing around each other, they're communicating proper, things are being pushed on time, perfect. That flow, that intensity, that is my most favorite thing in a kitchen, because the team is working so smooth and everything's going out so nicely, right? And then you get the exact opposite, where people can't communicate, people can't get things done. There's missing this, missing that, and it turns into a complete raging storm, right? But
turns into an episode of Hell's Kitchen.
Right. Make yourself a sandwich. What are you? But no, when things are glass smooth, man, it is the most satisfying feeling to be able to push out this food and then, like, to watch the people eat it and consume it, and you're like, yeah, okay, they enjoy that, I did right, or, you know, oops, something's wrong, okay, we'll fix it, right? That is such an exhilarating feeling.
No doubt. Yeah. The only thing I've ever had that, like, close to that was many years ago.
You've had it. That's the thing. I'm gonna cut you off, but you've had this feeling.
Yeah.
You ever been on the section attack?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Many times.
When you guys are moving just smooth, you're just taking terrain, you're putting bullets where they need to be. Your machine gunner's on the hill, just like laying down everything. Right?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, right? And you can see your team. They are moving, they are taking, right? That, like, I'm getting shivers talking about this, but that feeling of watching everything go smooth like that, that's the same feeling. It's the similarities between a kitchen and the military are just, like, they're so intertwined. It's funny.
When things are slick and it just works, and I remember doing one section attack with a bunch of dudes, and no one spoke.
Yeah.
Right. It just, everything worked, and everyone was moving, and everyone was doing stuff, and then you would just hear the call outs, right? And be like, fucking group, and everyone, it would just, boom, and everyone was moving again. That was a great feeling. I was going to say the one time that I really recall that where I was outside of it, just watching, and it felt good. Like, it felt good on my eyes to watch that happen.
Yeah.
We had a dude come down from Ottawa, from the hill, and teach us, I think it was like 2 days worth of room clearances and stuff.
Yeah.
And just watching him move through the rooms was just gorgeous. Every step, every movement, every time the rifle came up and back, and, like, it was gorgeous. And just being able to sit and watch that, I was like, that's fucking awesome. And you see, it's nice when you get that feeling and it just clicks.
Yeah, no. Yeah. When we're not talking in the kitchen and things are just smooth, like, we have to, right? It's communication. But you think of, like, a section attack too, movement, fire, and covering, right? You know, Charlie team, take the trench, prep grenade, I need ammo. It's the same thing on the kitchen. It was like, you know, range, 2 minutes, grill station, you know, this and that, pan station, how's that coming? I need some salt, send some fries up, drop some stuff. Chef, okay, you know, here you go. Table 6 needs this. Like, it's just. But when things are smooth out of that chaos, it is just such a delightful feeling.
It really is. That's a great way of putting it. The smoothness in chaos it's so beautiful. And I use the term, or the saying, slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Oh,
I use it all the time.
I preach that in the kitchen.
Yeah.
People are like, panic. I'm like, no. Slow her down. Do it right the first time. There is no panic.
Yep. I say it in jiu-jitsu all the time. Like, I'm a blue belt now, so there's some white belts that are always, no, thank you. And I tell them all the time, though, like, we'll be rolling. They're like, oh, was it this, or was it that, or did my leg, or, like, what should I done? I'm just like, slow down, man. Pick one thing. Do that thing. Until you have it, don't think about anything else. Just get that one thing. After that, think about something else. Because, I mean, you remember being a private, being a brand new guy, and they're all like, okay, we need to do this, and this. And you're like, what? Okay, cool. Just point me in a direction, right? Yeah. And then you start to panic because you don't really know what the next 4 steps are, and oh my god, blah, blah, blah. But you just, like, even in that section attack, right?
Yeah.
Shoot, move, communicate. Shoot, move, communicate.
That's all it is. Yeah, we're the same way.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay.
And that brings up another little point too. where as veterans too, we are good at, like, where do you want me to go? Put me in the direction. Okay, I'm going to execute, and that's it. Yeah. There's a lot of people. What's that phrase called? The when you analyze something and then you don't do it because you're freezing.
Oh,
yeah, right.
Paralyzation by
analyst paralyzation. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And that's I find that, like, veterans, we're good at just like, okay, we'll deal with the details in a sec. I'm going to start executing because this needs to be done. And a lot of
paralysis by analysis.
Right? That's what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Analysis
absolutely.
paralysis.
It happens all the time. And you see it in everything, though. Not just like you see it in traffic. You see it in business. You see it in life. You see it, I know lots of people who are sitting there like, I really want to have a family, but I don't know if I'll be able to do it, and I don't know if I'm ready, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that shit doesn't happen. Like, you don't all of a sudden just get ready, and then you have kids.
No. No.
And every plan you thought you had, that's the other thing that I think we're really good at was, no plan survives first contact, right? The moment that round goes over your head, your plan is fucking toast. It might work kind of the way you wanted it to, but really it's just like, okay, we're going to figure it out from here, see what happens.
Yeah.
And in life, man, that's life.
That is life.
Just got to figure out every day as if it's the only day you got, because really.
And that's the thing too. Like, you got to focus on taking a little bit back to the kitchen, but like one plate at a time, right? And the same thing, one day at a time, one task at a time, one life-changing event at a time, right? And do that right the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't be afraid to learn, right? Like, shit's not going to work sometimes.
Evolution. Yep.
Your best try is sometimes just not going to work, and okay, cool.
Yeah, and you got to be cool with that too. And like I know, like there's a lot. I'm trying to make bread in the oven right now at the same time, and I know I'm going over my proof time, but I'm kind of more curious now and see how this turns out. Like, you got to be willing to fail.
Yeah,
like, failure doesn't mean anything really. At the end of the day, I mean, there is some consequences. I'll step back on that one. There is something you can't, but 99% of the stuff.
Consequences are consequences, right? Like, you have to be able to look at those consequences and say, okay, cool, and then learn and move on.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hang-ups for military guys, why we don't like to fail, is because usually for us, failure means somebody dies.
Exactly. That's why I stood back, because I feel that too.
It's a very hard thing to shift from being in it and going like, if I fuck up, somebody's toast.
Yeah.
That's not a great feeling. But in the real world, outside of the military, outside of combat, outside of all this other stuff, if I don't make my timing, there was a great comic I saw early on when I first started school, and it was like, it's just a couple stick figures, and the guy's like, there's a teacher talking to a student, and the teacher's like, you handed in your assignment 15 minutes late. Do you know what that means? And the guy's like, people die? The teacher's like, No, you lose 10% off the top. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's like, as the vet, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, if I don't make a timing, no one's dying. Yeah. I'm just late. That's just the way it is.
I still suffer from that too. So, like, everything I do, I'm less like, shit, if I don't get this out, someone's just going to get their food late. Yeah, okay.
Yep. Okay. But, I myself, I used to bake bread a lot. That was one of my favorite things to do. And, again, I'm going to talk about my own achievements here for a second.
Yeah.
I used to make this really great Asiago cheese bread. So I used it was like a sugar loaf, so it was like a sweet white bread. And then before I actually did the roll up and put it into the loaf shape, I would take big chunks of Asiago and spread it out across the whole thing and then roll it up.
Oh, nice.
So I would put shredded Asiago into the mixture, into the actual dough, and then a layer of cheese. And then once it was baked, you cut it open, and there'd be this cheese swirl through the whole thing. It's delicious. One of my favorite things to make. And it was a sweet bread with a little bit of the stronger cheese, right? So that there's that nice
contrast.
really good stuff. Anyway, I tried to make it with my son one day, and as much as he wants to be a great helper when he was 3, he was not the best helper. He's much better now that he's 8. He's a much better help in the kitchen. But at the time, not so much. So we've been rolling for a little bit over an hour here, and I just want to say thank you very much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you again. And I was going to ask, is there anything else you wanted to add on, anything burning in your head that you'd like to say to the masses?
Oh, no. My voice
put you on the spot again.
Oh, no. Believe in yourself. Honestly, for people who are getting out, transitioning, evolving, believe in yourself. This is your next step of a wonderful journey, and just keep on living day by day. That's it.
That's fantastic. Giver like no one else is watching. Yeah, because really no one is. I mean, if you think about it, the rest, cares. Nobody cares. Just do what you want to do, man. Have fun at it. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
All right. If anybody wanted to find you, social media wise, get some tips, tricks, or anything from you, how would they find you? Primarily right now, Instagram is my big thing. So it's Matt PVE. So pop up Victor Echo at Instagram, right? Healthy Habit Mentoring, also on Instagram and Facebook. That's my health coaching side of the house. Other than that, just hashtag Matt PVE, and you'll likely find me on most social media things. Wicked. All right, man. Well, again, I can't thank you enough for being on here. It has been just a great chat. I think there's a lot of information that has been passed on in this chat that people are going to get a lot out of. So I can't thank you enough. It's been awesome. And thank you too, Chance, for everything you're doing here. I mean, we need this as a community. Yeah. So. I agree. I get to sit around in my basement and chat with people. Just make sure you're wearing pants. It's pretty good for me, man. Honestly, I think I learn more every time I do one of these than I'm giving out, but I'm happy to share it. This is awesome. Yeah. And yeah, so again, thank you very much. I'll look forward to hopefully getting you on another time. Maybe when you actually have your own restaurant and we can talk more specific cooking stuff. I'm more of a private chef, so if anyone wants to hire me. Okay. Well, if anybody wanted to hire you, how would they do that? Same thing, just hook me up, email, whatever, and then we can discuss. And then it's not like quick, make me dinner tonight thing. It's more like 2 weeks down the road, here's a plan, and you're going to get a plan and a menu and everything else. So, yeah. All right. Well, Chimo, brother. We'll see you next time. Talk to you later. That concludes this episode of The Toolbox. I really appreciate y'all listening. It has been my pleasure bringing you this awesome guest. If you like what you heard, please like, share, subscribe, and do all that awesome stuff. And I hope you can use some of the information that was offered. To all those putting on the line every day, first responders, military, veterans, civil servants, you guys are keeping us safe and keeping the country running. I really appreciate y'all. Hope to see you next time. Till then, stay open, stay humble, and stay focused. Chimo.